Stop blaming yourself for being too much, too quiet, too intense, too sensitive, too ambitious, or too difficult to understand. Because a lot of what you think is wrong with you may actually be written into your sun placement. And once you understand where your sun sits in the birth chart, you stop seeing your personality as random. You start seeing the pattern, why you lead the way you do, why you crave respect, why certain people drain you, why success feels natural in one area of life but delayed in another, why some people are born to be visible and others are built to operate behind the scenes. That is exactly what this video is about. Not just what your sun sign is, but what your sun house reveals about the kind of person you were meant to become. So before we go further, I want you to do this right now. Check your own sun placement first. Then check the sun placement of your partner, your best friend, your siblings, your parents, or anyone who has had a strong effect on your life. Because once you start comparing patterns, this stops being theory and starts becoming personal. You will see why some people need control, why some people need approval, why some people are natural leaders, why some people are deeply private, and why some people keep rising after life keeps trying to break them. And I'm not going to give you vague, fluffy astrology. I'm going to break this down in a way that is clear, direct, and easy to visualize. House by house, pattern by pattern, personality by personality. By the end of this video, you may realize that your sun placement was never your weakness. It may have been your instruction manual all along. Let's begin now. Sun in first house. When your sun is in the first house, life is teaching you one clear lesson. You were not meant to shrink yourself. This is the placement of someone who is here to develop a strong identity. You are meant to be seen, to stand on your own feet, and to build confidence through action. The first house is the house of self. So when the sun lands here, the question becomes very direct. Who are you when nobody is telling you what to do? People with this placement often carry a natural presence. Even if they are quiet, others notice them. Even when they are not trying to lead, people may still look to them for direction. There's something unmistakable about this energy. It says, I know who I am. And if that confidence has not fully developed yet, life keeps pushing you until it does. This sun can show up as confidence, vitality, sharp self-awareness, and a strong need to live on your own terms. You do not like being controlled. You do not like being ignored. And you definitely do not like being underestimated. That is part of your power. The first house sun is not meant to be passive. It wants to initiate. It wants to decide. It wants to move first. At its best, this placement creates a natural leader. Not just someone who gives orders, but someone who leads by being direct, decisive, and self-contained. These are the people who do well when they're building something from scratch, launching a new path, or taking full ownership of their life. They become most powerful when they stop trying to fit other people's expectations and start trusting their own direction. But this placement also comes with a major lesson. The ego has to be refined, not worshipped. The same energy that makes you strong can also make you stubborn. The same energy that gives you confidence can also make you defensive. Sometimes you may feel like admitting weakness would reduce your power. It does not. In fact, that is often where your real strength begins. In relationships, the first house sun needs respect, not fake admiration, real respect. If you are belittled or treated like your presence does not matter, you will feel it immediately. That is why this placement often does best with a partner who honors your independence instead of trying to control you. In career, this sun is powerful for leadership, entrepreneurship, public-facing roles, personal branding, coaching, management, politics, and any path where your identity is part of your success. You are not built to stay invisible for long. You are built to be recognized for what you bring. The real question is simple. Will you become the main character in your own life or keep living like a supporting role? If you want the downloadable version of this mind map, along with more astrology content to help you understand yourself on a deeper level, join me on Patreon. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Sun in second house. When your sun is in the second house, your voice becomes one of your biggest powers. This is the placement of someone who is meant to speak with authority, build value, and create security through what they know, what they say, and what they own. You are not here to live carelessly. You are here to build something solid. The second house is about money, family, values, self-worth, speech, and the ability to sustain yourself. So when the sun lands here, it places a spotlight on all the things that make a person feel secure. This person often cares deeply about being respected, being financially stable, and being seen as someone who has substance. Surface level living does not satisfy them for long. There's usually a strong link between identity and material stability. You may notice that when life feels financially shaky, your confidence drops too. That is because this placement wants proof. It wants results. It wants to know that effort leads to something real. This is why people with the sun in the second house often become very serious about earning, saving, and protecting their resources. You may also notice that these people often speak in a firm, direct, and sometimes commanding way. Their words are not random. They usually mean what they say, and they do not like being talked down to. There can be a strong sense of family pride or family pressure here as well. In many cases, the person carries the weight of a name, a legacy, or expectations that came before them. They may feel they have to prove their worth through achievement, money, or status. At its best, this placement is excellent for building wealth through consistent effort. These people can do well in finance, sales, consulting, teaching, law, luxury brands, food businesses, media, voice-based careers, and any role that depends on communication and value. They often know how to present themselves in a way that sounds capable and trustworthy. When they believe in what they are saying, others tend to believe them too. But this placement is not just about money. It is about value. That is the real lesson. Some people with this sun become obsessed with proving their worth through possessions, income, or status. They may feel frustrated if they're not earning enough or if others do not recognize their competence. At times, they can become stubborn, possessive, or too attached to comfort and material security. There can also be a tendency to speak too forcefully, especially when they feel disrespected. Because the sun here gives pride, the person may react strongly when their values are challenged. They may also struggle with overindulgence, especially in food or luxury, because the second house is very connected to pleasure and comfort. If balanced, this placement creates a person who knows how to build. They understand that money is not just money. It is freedom, stability, and self-trust. They know how to earn with dignity and speak with authority. They often become the kind of person others rely on when things need to be handled seriously. But if unbalanced, they may live in constant defense mode, always protecting ego, money, or family pride. That is when the lesson becomes important. Your worth is not only measured by what you own or earn. Your voice, your values, and your consistency matter just as much. This placement often asks you to become someone whose words carry weight because your life matches your values. That is why the sun in the second house can create a very grounded, powerful, and self-respecting personality when it is used well. For the full downloadable mind map, plus exclusive astrology content and future planet breakdowns, you can join me on Patreon. You'll find the link in the description and pinned comment. Sun in third house. When your sun is in the third house, life pushes you to become bold through action. This is the placement of someone who is not meant to stay silent, stay stuck, or wait too long for permission. You are here to move, speak, create, test, and build confidence through effort. The third house is about courage, communication, initiative, and the ability to stand up for yourself. And when the sun lands here, it makes those themes central to your personality. People with this placement often have a strong urge to do things their own way. They usually do not like being micromanaged, and they can become restless very quickly if life feels too slow or too restricted. They are the type who would rather try and fail than sit still and wonder. That is why this placement is often connected with self-made success. These people may not wait for opportunity. They create movement. The sun here also makes a person more expressive and mentally active. Their mind is usually alert, sharp, and busy. They may be naturally good at speaking, writing, sales, teaching, media, marketing, content creation, or anything that requires quick thinking and personal drive. This placement can be excellent for people who need to sell themselves, promote an idea, or communicate in a way that gets attention. In today's world, that can mean social media, branding, short-form video, podcasting, or public speaking. There's also a strong, I can handle it quality here. Even if this person feels pressure, they often prefer to appear strong and self-sufficient. They want to prove that they can figure things out on their own. That makes them brave, but it can also make them impatient. Sometimes they move too fast. Sometimes they speak before they fully think. Sometimes they get into conflict because their tone is sharper than they realize. The lesson here is not to stop speaking. The lesson is to learn how to channel your voice with precision. This placement often gives a competitive streak as well. The person may compare themselves to siblings, peers, neighbors, or classmates. They want to win in their own lane. They may even feel like they have to fight for their place in the world. But that pressure often becomes fuel. The more they challenge themselves, the stronger they become. At its best, the sun in the third house creates courage, versatility, and strong personal momentum. These people often do well in careers where they can lead with their voice, message, ideas, or movement. They are especially powerful when they stop waiting to feel ready and start acting from instinct, because for them, growth comes through action, not hesitation. In relationships, this placement can make a person direct, playful, and mentally stimulating, but also a little hard to pin down. They need space to think, move, and express themselves. If they feel boxed in, they lose energy fast. They usually do best with people who respect their independence and understand that their mind is always in motion. The deeper lesson of this sun is simple. Your voice is not small. Your will is not weak, and your path is meant to be self-made. You are not here to hide your drive. You are here to use it. If you'd like access to the downloadable version of this mind map, along with more exclusive astrology material, join me on Patreon. The link is in the description and pinned comment below. Sun in fourth house. When your sun is in the fourth house, life pulls your attention toward home, emotional security, family roots, and the private side of who you are. This is the placement of someone who may look strong and composed on the outside, but whose real sense of power is deeply tied to their inner world. The fourth house is about your foundation, and when the sun is here, the question becomes, what makes you feel safe enough to be yourself? People with this placement usually care a lot about their home environment. They want a space that feels stable, comfortable, and emotionally clean. They may be very attached to family, traditions, or the idea of building a life that feels rooted. Even if they move far away physically, they often carry a strong emotional link to where they came from. Home is never just a place for them. It is part of their identity. This placement often shows someone who takes responsibility seriously. They may feel pressure early in life to hold things together for the family, or they may grow up around a strong parental influence that shapes how they see authority, security, and belonging. Sometimes, one parent becomes the emotional center of the household, or the person learns very early that they must create their own stability. That can make them mature, dependable, and protective, but it can also make them carry invisible pressure. At its best, the sun in the fourth house can create someone who builds a strong base for themselves and others. These people can do very well in real estate, property, home businesses, administration, public service, or any career that involves creating structure and stability. They often have a deep desire to own something meaningful, not just rent their life from moment to moment. They want permanence. They want roots. They want to know that what they build will last. But there's also a more emotional side to this placement. Sometimes the person feels like peace comes late. Sometimes childhood or home life felt complicated, demanding, or emotionally heavy. Even when the outside life looks successful, the inner life may still be working through questions of safety, belonging, and family expectations. That is why this placement can make someone highly independent later in life. They often become strong by learning how to create the emotional home they needed but may not have fully received. This sun can also create pride around privacy. These people may not want everyone in their personal business. They may be private, selective, and very protective of the people they love. When they commit to a home, a family, or a private life, they usually take it seriously. They are not casual about loyalty. In the best case, this placement gives inner dignity. It creates a person who knows how to build a life that feels secure, respectable, and lasting. Not flashy, not unstable, solid. That is the real strength of the fourth house Sunday. It teaches you that your power is not only in how the world sees you, but in whether your inner life has a foundation strong enough to support the rest of your success. Want the mind map in downloadable format, plus bonus astrology content and deeper self-understanding tools? Join me on Patreon. The link is available in the description and pinned comment. Sun in fifth house. When your sun is in the fifth house, life gives you a strong need to express yourself, stand out, and create something that feels uniquely yours. This is one of the most visible, creative, and self-defining placements in astrology. The fifth house is the house of talent, creativity, romance, joy, children, performance, and personal expression. So when the sun lands here, it lights up everything related to self-expression and the desire to be recognized for your natural gifts. People with this placement often have a strong sense of pride in what they create. They want to do something well, and they want people to notice it. This can show up in art, writing, teaching, content creation, leadership, business, design, performance, or any area where creativity and visibility matter. These are often the people who do not want to live a dull life. They need excitement, inspiration, and a sense that their life has a unique signature. The sun here also gives intelligence, but not always in a purely academic way. This is often the intelligence of instinct, pattern recognition, creative confidence, and fast learning when something actually interests them. They may not enjoy forced learning or boring routines, but when they care about a subject, they can become extremely sharp and impressive. This placement often makes the person want to be known for their mind as much as for their personality. There's also a very strong desire for appreciation here. People with this sun often want to be admired, not necessarily in an arrogant way, but in a way that feels personal and meaningful. They want their effort to matter. They want their talent to be seen. They want to feel special in the eyes of others, especially in romance, and in any field where they are trying to make a mark. That need can be beautiful when it becomes healthy confidence, but it can also create ego issues when the person depends too much on attention or approval. In relationships, this placement can make someone passionate, expressive, and warm, but also a little demanding. They may want love to feel exciting, dramatic, or deeply affirming. If they feel ignored or underappreciated, they can become hurt fast. They usually want a partner who admires them, supports their individuality, and does not dim their shine. They are not built for dry, lifeless relationships. They need spark. This placement can also connect strongly with children, mentoring, and the desire to leave a legacy. People with the sun in the fifth house often want to create something that continues after them. That could be a child, a brand, a business, a body of work, or a reputation that lasts. At its best, this sun gives charisma, creativity, joy, and a strong sense of self-worth through expression. At its worst, it can create pride, stubbornness, and emotional drama when attention is missing. But the core lesson here is powerful. Your gift is not supposed to stay hidden. You are here to create something visible, meaningful, and unmistakably yours. If this breakdown helped you understand yourself better, you can get the downloadable mind map and extra astrology content by joining me on Patreon. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Sun in sixth house. When your sun is in the sixth house, life pushes you to become stronger through pressure. This is the placement of someone who is not here for an easy, soft path. You are here to learn how to handle challenge, competition, responsibility, and the daily grind without losing your sense of self. The sixth house is about work, health, routine, service, conflict, and improvement. So when the sun lands here, your identity becomes tied to effort. You usually feel best when you are useful, productive, disciplined, and solving real problems. You may not always love the fight, but you often become very good at it. This is the placement of the person who can keep going when others are already tired. People with this placement often take work seriously. They do not want to be careless, lazy, or unprepared. They usually care about competence, efficiency, and being able to prove themselves through results. There can be a strong desire to outperform others, especially coworkers, competitors, or anyone who doubts them. Sometimes this makes them highly motivated. Sometimes it makes them too hard on themselves. This sun can create someone who is excellent under pressure. When a crisis appears, they often get sharper, not weaker. They may become the person everyone depends on when things go wrong. That is why this placement can be powerful in careers like medicine, law, operations, analysis, management, fitness, consulting, defense, administration, in any field where discipline matters more than flash. But the shadow side is stress. A person with this placement may feel like life is always testing them. They may deal with workplace politics, criticism, hidden competition, or the feeling that they have to earn everything the hard way. They may also become very self-critical, always noticing what is not perfect yet. The lesson here is that discipline is a gift, but self-punishment is not. Health becomes an important theme too. Because the sixth house rules the body's daily maintenance, this sun often asks the person to pay attention to routine, exercise, sleep, food, and stress management. If they push too hard for too long, their body usually sends a message, not because they are weak, but because they are wired to keep going until they stop and listen. There's also a strong moral edge to this placement. These people often dislike injustice. They may have a strong instinct to defend themselves or protect others when something feels unfair. They are not usually comfortable being passive in the face of conflict. If they believe they are right, they will fight for it. In relationships, this sun can make a person useful, loyal, and dependable, but also a little guarded or difficult to relax around. They may carry stress home from work or feel like they always need to be on. They usually do best with people who understand their drive and do not confuse their seriousness with coldness. At its best, the sun in the sixth house creates a warrior mindset. It gives a person the ability to work hard, stay focused, overcome opposition, and rise through discipline. This is not the sun of easy praise. This is the sun of earned respect. To download this mind map and explore more exclusive astrology content, join me on Patreon. The link is right there in the description and pinned comment. Sun in seventh house. When your sun is in the seventh house, relationships become one of the biggest mirrors in your life. This is the placement of someone who learns a lot about themselves through partnership, collaboration, and the way other people respond to them. The seventh house is about marriage, long-term partnership, business partnerships, contracts, and one-to-one dynamics. So when the sun lands here, your identity starts to grow through connection. You may feel most alive when you are in a meaningful relationship, working with a strong partner, or standing across from someone who truly challenges you. This placement often makes relationships central, not optional. People with this placement usually attract strong personalities. They may be drawn to confident, visible, ambitious, or powerful partners. Sometimes the partner becomes a source of inspiration. Sometimes the partner becomes a source of friction. Either way, the relationship is rarely dull. These are the people who often experience their biggest lessons through other people, because the seventh house is where me meets you. At its best, this placement can create someone who is excellent with clients, diplomacy, negotiation, public interaction, and teamwork. They often know how to read people well, and they can be very persuasive when they are balanced. They may also do well in business partnerships, law, consulting, branding, public relations, or any role that requires dealing directly with others. Their strength often comes alive in connection, not isolation. But this placement also has a clear challenge: ego in relationships. The sun wants to lead, the seventh house wants balance. That can create tension if the person always wants to be in control, always wants to be right, or struggles to share power. In relationships, this can show up as pride, dominance, or difficulty compromising. If both people are strong-willed, the connection can become a power struggle instead of a bond. This placement can also create a strong awareness of fairness. These people usually care deeply about whether things are equal, respectful, and mutually beneficial. They may not tolerate being ignored, dismissed, or treated like their role does not matter. They want their partner to see them clearly and treat them with dignity. The deeper lesson here is that partnership is not about losing yourself. It is about learning how to stay yourself while also making space for another person. That is not easy for the sun, because the sun wants individuality. But the seventh house keeps teaching the same thing. Real strength in relationships is not domination. It is mutual recognition. At its best, the sun in the seventh house can create a person who shines through connection, forms powerful alliances, and becomes deeply skilled at understanding people. At its worst, it can create control issues, relationship drama, and a constant need to win. But either way, the message is the same. Your growth comes through the mirror of other people. If you want more content like this, including the downloadable mind map and exclusive astrology insights, join me on Patreon. You'll find the link in the description and pinned comment. Sun in 8th house. When your sun is in the 8th house, your life is not built for shallow comfort. This is the placement of someone who is meant to go deep, face hidden truths, and become stronger through transformation. The 8th house is about privacy, trust, shared resources, intimacy, crisis, and the parts of life most people avoid. So when the sun lands here, your identity is shaped by what you survive, what you uncover, and what you learn to release. People with this placement are often very private. They may not show their full self easily, and they usually do not trust quickly. There can be a strong sense that they see more than they say. They may notice what others are hiding, feel the emotional undercurrent in a room, or carry an instinct for reading what is unsaid. That makes them intense, magnetic, and sometimes hard to fully know. At its best, this placement gives deep resilience. These people often become stronger through hardship, loss, betrayal, or major life changes. They are not built to stay the same for long. Life tends to strip away what is false so that the real self can emerge. That can be painful, but it also creates wisdom. The sun in the 8th house often belongs to someone who learns how to rebuild from the inside out. This placement can also create a strong interest in psychology, healing, research, the hidden side of human behavior, money connected to other people, inheritance, taxes, investments, or any subject that deals with depth and transformation. These people are often natural investigators. They want to know what is beneath the surface. They may also be drawn to taboo topics because they are not afraid of emotional or psychological complexity. But this sun can also make life feel exposed at times. The person may go through phases where they feel vulnerable, misunderstood, or forced to deal with issues they did not choose. There can be trust problems, control issues, and periods of emotional intensity that feel hard to explain to others. Sometimes they experience sudden shifts that change their direction completely. This is not a placement that likes half-truths. It wants emotional honesty, even if that honesty is uncomfortable. In relationships, the 8th house sun can be very intense. This person may bond deeply, love deeply, and fear betrayal deeply. They are usually not interested in casual connection for long. They want trust, loyalty, and emotional depth. If they feel betrayed, they may shut down fast. They can also become very protective of their boundaries, because once their trust is broken, it is not easy to rebuild. Career-wise, this placement can be powerful in psychology, healing, finance, research, investigation, crisis work, consulting, therapy, and any field that requires deep insight. They often do well in roles where they are dealing with complexity rather than surface-level tasks. They may not need the loudest spotlight, but they often have the ability to influence from below the surface. The deeper lesson here is that your power comes from transformation. You are not here to stay untouched. You are here to evolve. And every time life asks you to let something die, it is also asking you to become more real. For the downloadable mind map version and additional astrology content that goes even deeper, join me on Patreon. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Sun in 9th house. When your sun is in the 9th house, life keeps pushing you toward growth, meaning, and a bigger view of the world. This is the placement of someone who is not meant to stay mentally small. You are here to expand, to question, to learn, and to build a life guided by principle rather than habit. The 9th house is about higher learning, belief systems, teachers, travel, philosophy, law, and the search for truth. So when the sun lands here, your identity becomes tied to wisdom and purpose. You may feel most alive when you are learning something bigger than yourself, sharing knowledge, or connecting your life to a larger mission. This placement often gives a strong internal compass. You usually want your choices to make sense morally, not just practically. People with this placement often have deep respect for teachers, mentors, father figures, and anyone who helped shape their worldview. In many cases, they carry a strong sense of duty around knowledge or truth. They may want to teach, guide, publish, speak, coach, lead, or travel in a way that expands their perspective. They are often the kind of person who wants life to mean something. At its best, this placement brings optimism, wisdom, confidence, and a natural sense of direction. These people can do very well in education, law, publishing, media, travel, consulting, religion, philosophy, and leadership roles that involve big picture thinking. They may also have a strong connection to foreign places, international people, or cultures beyond their own. The world feels like a classroom to them. But the shadow side is rigidity. Because the sun gives pride, this placement can sometimes create someone who becomes overly attached to their beliefs. They may think they know the right answer, the right path, or the right way to live. If they are not careful, they can turn conviction into arrogance. They may also resist advice if it does not match their worldview. Another theme here is inheritance, legacy, and the influence of family values. The person may come from a background where belief, religion, education, or status mattered a lot. Sometimes the father or father figure plays a strong role in shaping how they see the world. Other times, they define themselves by pushing away from inherited values and finding their own truth. This placement is also strongly connected to travel and expansion through experience. Many people with this sun feel changed by long journeys, major life transitions, or moments when they are exposed to different ideas. They grow when they leave the small frame behind. They need a horizon. In relationships and social life, this sun can make the person confident in their perspective and highly motivated to share what they know. They may come across as wise, preachy, inspiring, or intense about values. They usually do best with people who respect their mind and support their sense of purpose. The deeper lesson of this placement is simple. Your life gets bigger when your mind gets bigger. You are not here to repeat what everyone else believes. You are here to seek truth, live by it, and let it shape who you become. If you'd like to keep learning through exclusive astrology content and downloadable mind maps, join me on Patreon. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Sun in 10th house. When your sun is in the 10th house, life pulls you toward visibility, achievement, and responsibility. This is the placement of someone who is not meant to stay in the background for long. You are here to build a name, carry authority, and become known for what you do in the world. The 10th house is about career, reputation, leadership, status, and the role you play in public life. So when the sun lands here, your identity becomes tied to success. You may feel most alive when you are climbing, accomplishing, and earning respect through visible results. This placement often gives a very strong drive to succeed because the person wants to leave a mark. People with this placement usually care deeply about how they are perceived professionally. They want their work to matter. They want recognition that feels earned. They may naturally take responsibility, step into leadership, or become the person others rely on when something important has to be handled. Even if they are not loud, they often carry themselves with seriousness. At its best, this placement is excellent for leadership, management, entrepreneurship, politics, executive work, public service, medicine, branding, in any career where reputation matters. These people usually have a strong sense of duty. They're often willing to work hard, stay disciplined, and keep moving upward, even when the path is slow. They tend to understand that success is built, not borrowed. There is also a strong connection to authority figures here. The person may have a significant relationship with a father figure, boss, mentor, or anyone who represents power and structure. Sometimes that relationship is supportive, sometimes it is difficult. But either way, authority becomes a major theme in their life. They're often learning how to become the authority rather than just serve one. The challenge is pressure. This placement can make a person overly focused on achievement, reputation, and public image. They may feel like they always have to perform, always have to be strong, and always have to keep proving themselves. That can create burnout if they do not balance ambition with rest and emotional life. This sun can also create a person who is highly self-respecting and intolerant of humiliation. They usually do not like being undermined. They want to be treated with dignity, especially in professional settings. If they are not respected, they may become distant or more determined to rise higher. The deeper lesson here is that your life is not meant to be invisible. You are here to do something that can be seen, measured, and respected. But the real power of this placement is not just status. It is the ability to carry responsibility with integrity. This sun says, build something that lasts, lead with purpose, and let your work speak for you. You can get the downloadable version of this mind map along with bonus astrology content and future updates by joining me on Patreon. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Sun in 11th house. When your sun is in the 11th house, life pushes you toward growth through people, networks, and long-term vision. This is the placement of someone who is not meant to think small. You are here to dream bigger, connect smarter, and build something that reaches beyond your personal world. The 11th house is about friends, community, goals, gains, audience, and the future you are trying to create. So when the sun lands here, your identity becomes tied to ambition and impact. You may feel most alive when you are working toward a big goal, building a network, or being part of something larger than yourself. This is not a placement that likes stagnation. It wants movement, progress, and reach. People with this placement often know how to attract the right people at the right time. They may have strong social instincts, natural charisma, or an ability to fit into influential circles. At the same time, they are often selective about who they let close. They may look social on the outside, but they usually know exactly who matters and who does not. They want friendships that mean something, not just surface-level connection. At its best, this placement can bring gains through networking, collaborations, business communities, social platforms, and group-based success. These people often do well when they are connected to the right audience, team, or vision. Their success may not come from working alone forever. It often comes from being visible inside a system, movement, brand, or community that grows with them. The 11th house sun also creates strong willpower. These are usually people who want to achieve something significant. They may think in terms of legacy, audience, income, influence, and long-term reward. They are often future-oriented and driven by the desire to make an impact. They do not just want to succeed. They want their success to mean something. But the shadow side is approval pressure. This placement can make a person very aware of status inside their social world. They may compare themselves to friends, peers, or people in their circle. They may also experience disappointment through friendship if they trust the wrong people or rely too heavily on others for validation. Sometimes the lesson is that not every connection is loyal, and not every group is aligned with your real future. Still, this is a strong placement for influence and expansion. It often gives a person the ability to connect dots others miss, bring people together, and grow through alliances. They may be the one who opens doors, introduces people, or sees the bigger picture before others do. In relationships and social life, this sun can make the person inspiring, ambitious, and collaborative, but also a little detached if they are focused on bigger goals. They usually need friendships that support their direction, not distract from it. They thrive when their environment helps them rise. The deeper lesson here is simple. Your future grows when you stop thinking only about survival and start thinking about impact. You are not here to stay in a small circle. You are here to build a bigger horizon. If you want access to the full downloadable mind map and more premium astrology content, join me on Patreon. The link is in the description and pinned comment below. Sun in 12th house. When your sun is in the 12th house, your life is built around things that are not always obvious at first glance. This is the placement of someone whose power is often hidden, whose confidence may develop in private, and whose identity is shaped by solitude, reflection, and deep inner work. The 12th house is about privacy, isolation, foreign lands, sleep, dreams, subconscious patterns, and the parts of life that operate behind the scenes. So when the sun lands here, your sense of self can feel quiet, subtle, or hard to define in a loud way. You may not naturally enjoy constant attention. In fact, too much noise, pressure, or social exposure can drain you faster than it drains other people. People with this placement often feel different from the crowd, even when they cannot fully explain why. They may have a rich inner world, strong intuition, vivid dreams, and a natural pull toward retreat or reflection. Some of them feel most like themselves when they are alone, traveling, creating privately, or working in a setting where they do not have to be on all the time. This is the placement of the behind-the-scenes thinker, observer, healer, artist, or strategist. At its best, the 12th house sun gives compassion, depth, imagination, and the ability to see beyond the obvious. These people can be incredibly sensitive to energy, emotion, and atmosphere. They often notice what other people miss. They may also be drawn to creative work, healing work, research, film, photography, design, or any field where subtlety matters more than performance. But this placement also has a challenge: visibility. The person may struggle to fully see their own value. They may doubt themselves, hide their abilities, or feel like their power works better in private than in public. Sometimes they give a lot and do not receive enough recognition. Sometimes they support others quietly while forgetting to claim their own place. There can also be a theme of escape, distance, or emotional withdrawal. If life becomes too overwhelming, the person may retreat inward or choose isolation before they are ready. That is not always unhealthy. Sometimes solitude is exactly what they need. But the lesson is to make sure retreat becomes restoration, not self-erasure. This placement often does very well with foreign environments, remote work, private creative work, spiritual development, or settings where they can build power quietly. Many people with this sun become stronger when they move away from familiar expectations and give themselves space to breathe. Confidence often grows when they are not surrounded by constant judgment. In relationships, this sun can make a person private, hard to read, and deeply sensitive. They may need emotional safety before they open up fully. They may also need partners who understand that silence does not always mean disconnection. Sometimes it means processing. Sometimes it means self-protection. Sometimes it means the person is living more deeply inside than outside. The deeper lesson of the 12th house sun is that not every light is meant to shine in public first. Some light is meant to develop in solitude, in silence, and in hidden places before it becomes visible to the world. To unlock the downloadable mind map and more exclusive astrology content, join me on Patreon. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Before you go, remember to check your own sun placement again and compare it with the people around you, because that is where astrology becomes truly practical. It starts helping you understand not just who you are, but why the people in your life behave the way they do. And if you want to keep going deeper, I've also uploaded mind maps for the other planets as well. You can check them in the playlist and continue building a full understanding of your chart from there. Until then, remember this: your sun placement is not here to limit you. It is here to reveal you. I hope this gave you some clarity. Subscribe, and I'll meet you with another eye-opening video soon.